Wholeness, welcome to Notes of Nara. My name is Naja Rashida, and may this message find you well and whole. Happy Saturday to all. It's a Saturday, that's for sure. Please don't mind me. Usually I try not to drink and eat during, making videos, but these are grapes. I'm a little hungry, and I wanted to make this video before I take a nap. A much needed nap at that. Let's see what happening today on this Saturday. Well, I had a nice full body 90-minute massage last night. I don't know about you, but maybe you guys can relate, but if you're into holistic body health, self-care, all that, you go to the massage. You haven't gone to a massage session in such a long time. There's something about the lymphatics system being kind of like moved and shifted around, and so after the session's over you feel really good, but then like the next day you feel like you are catching a cold or something. And so in my reading and in my experience, I've heard that like the toxins that are kind of like locked up in that in your knots in your muscles, right? They release all that blood and all that old energy, and it moves throughout your body. And so I feel like my little but also a lot more fluid and in my body. I'm also going to the chiropractor, so your girl's taking better care of herself. Today I attended a birthday party of an aunt that I have. And in my lineage, in my both sides of the family, well, no, more so on my dad's side, there's a lot of half siblings. So I don't really have a lot of full blood relatives on my dad's side. I have a lot of half cousins, half uncles, and yet people are like, oh, that's your uncle. Oh, that's your auntie. Oh, that's your cousin. There's a difference. What do I mean by that? So I step into a house full of over probably 30 people that I literally either I haven't seen in over 20 or 25 years, or I've never met in my entire life. And once, especially if you're into public service jobs where you're dealing with the public multiple days in a row and you're tired. I mean, honestly, I'm very peopled out right now, but I committed to going to this, and in support of her. She is several years older than my dad, and he didn't know he even had a sister until I think 25, 27 years ago, 29 years ago. So anyway, it was awkward. Very loving, very kind and cordial, but awkward for everyone. And then what made it even more awkward is like when you have a second cousin, but then your second cousin has grown children, and then their children have children, and then their children have children. Like, I'm like, how related are we? If like you're my dad's half sister's daughter's child. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I went, family's family, I guess. Food was fire, okay? It was great. A lot of it made from scratch. They know how to cook. They know how to throw down. But just enough seasoning. Okay. Anywho, I wanted to talk about a plethora of different topics today. Last video or message, I mentioned the film Sinners. I want to share this with you guys because this is a phenomenon, all right? This is coming from someone who's, studied classical music. And it doesn't matter as a musician if you're studying your, punk rock, hard rock, classical, jazz, whatever genre of music that you're studying and you're mastering. Repetition is the first law of learning. Repetition is how you master your craft. You master the technicality of sound. the rhythm, of dynamics, of volume, tempo, all of it. And it's even more intense when you are, studying a piece of a composition with a group of people, whether that's in quartet or, a small ensemble or a whole orchestra. You know what I'm saying? It's beautiful. Let's talk about the repetition part. It was just second nature to me when I was in college. Right? I just, here, Naja, we need you to master 4 or 5 arias, and then we'll choose 2 or 3 of them at the end of the semester. Boom. I said, good, great. So I'd be in there singing, repetition. And then throughout the day, I wouldn't eat. When I wasn't in the practice room, I had my music sitting in the library, sitting in another class, or sitting at lunch. Literally, I would look at the notes and I would hear the music, right? I would hear the accompaniment as I'm reading and singing the music in my head, right? Music literacy is a very beautiful thing. Side note. But anywho, I think it was last Sunday. I went to see Sinners with my dad. My dad wanted to see it because there's some deeper occultic, subliminal messages in it, blah, blah, blah. I went. Was it a bit too gory for me? Yes. Too violent? Yes. A lot of blood? Yeah. Do I like that? No. I'm more of the psychological thriller. I can deal with a little bit of blood because I've worked in healthcare. It's part of life. People bleed, they bleed out, okay? Blood is blood, right? So it doesn't necessarily freak me out, but with gore and horror and slasher dasher movies, they take it to a whole nother level, which it could be more demonic if anything else, right? So there are 2 poignant scenes in that movie that really stuck with me, and there were 2 musical scores, okay? Original pieces written. The first one dealt with the blending of African American music. How African Americans, how we, Black people, created our own formula, brought, things from our roots, African roots, created jazz and rap, hip hop, funk, all of it, okay? Even rock, all right? And in this scene, it was very, very poignant. They brought in, very cinematic, okay? You just have to see it. But it was very, very visceral experience in the theater. Then the second very powerful scene that dealt with music was, it was called Rocky Road's Dublin. Okay, I am into Celtic music, all right? Celtic music hits. I don't know what it is. If I shake my family tree, okay, might just have a little bit in there. I'm not sure. I'm working on that currently to understand my own lineage, my own, genetic ties. You know what I'm saying? It's good to know where you come from. But those 2 scenes, in that scene, it was it was deep, okay? And I say go see it, but then I say don't go see this movie. I know it was a suggestion, but it was more of I believe now, looking back to what I know about metaphysics and what I know about the occult and what I know about subliminal messages and the intention of the shadow elite, and then what I'm seeing and how this movie is kind of paralleling how it parallels to the current events that are unfolding right now. You don't need to go see the movie, okay? Here's why. Harnessing of energy. Now, the reason why music is one of the most powerful ways to alchemize energy and to manipulate people, to manipulate the masses, is because sound moves. It's the first sound of the universe, right? Om. That's all the vowels in the English language. A, E, I, O, U. You put all of that together, you get Om. A, E, I, Sound of the universe. The Big Bang, okay, they like to call it. Rhythm and sound. Okay, you take chaos, you give it a little nudge, you manipulate it a little bit, and you can manipulate everything. When you turn on the radio, I made a really old video, like I think 2 years ago, I'm not sure when, but I talked about how you turn on the radio and they play the same damn cycle of songs over and over again. And I'm thinking to myself, there are millions of different artists, right? Unknown artists that are putting out their music and it sounds amazing. The production's great. And that's all they're playing on the damn radio on 92.9 or 93.0, whatever, okay? But when you turn it on, it then turns you on. It turns a certain frequency and you begin to become hypnotized by it, controlled by it. Now, at first, I never went deeper with it. I never thought of like, when I'm listening to that music is harnessing energy from me and I'm harnessing energy from it. I never thought about that. I just thought music can, it just moves you. No, it manipulates you. There's all kinds of songs out there that are complete trash. If you take away the wonderful, hypnotic, very just addictive hook, the production, right? The sound engineering and all that, you just look at the lyrics, it's dark. Very, very dark. Now, I'm not saying the two songs in the movie were dark, but when you put visuals and images together and then the overall subliminal message of the movie, right, together, it did something to a lot of people. And I thought I was going crazy because I couldn't stop listening to the songs in my head. They just kept playing and replaying and replaying. And I have this theory as an empathic, extrasensory person, right? Very sensitive to things. We're like walking antennas. And how do I know this? Because of the times that I've committed to silent fasts, which I believe I've shared with you all. It's a practice I like to do once or twice a year where I shut everything off. I unplug my Wi-Fi. I turn off all digital access. I don't look at a screen. I don't engage in or with the screen for a good 7 full days. Complete just silence. I don't speak to anybody. I don't call anybody. I don't answer the door. I am just alone and listening. And it's amazing what begins to pour out of you. It's amazing what you can hear within your internal mind. And there were times when I would go deeper into the fast and I would hear songs, just random ass songs. Now, people who have limited metaphysical understanding about what goes beyond the veil, right? They'll say, oh, that's scientifically proven, or that just sounds silly. All right, if you're one of those people, this may not be for you, okay? But for those that can follow what I'm saying with the harnessing of energy, what you are pouring into, it's also taking from you as well. It's suppressing you. And it's so weird that they opened, the title of the movie centers, and then what's happening, this racial push, this divisive racial narrative and story that they're projecting, they're projectile vomiting into society right now. They want everyone to hate each other so bad. They want browns against browns, blacks against blacks, black against brown, brown against blacks, white against blacks, white against whites. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They want everyone to fight against, because they feed off of that energy. They harness just every video that you watch about what's going on. They're just a straw, just they feed off of the frequency of hate and division and jealousy. That's why they call it the race, right? Racism, racial issues, because it's competition. A race, the definition of a race is to compete against something else outside of yourself. instead of using human kindness. Humankind, being kind to your fellow human. Hu meaning light, body. So in order to successfully harness the energy from the human, from humankind, they must keep us in the frequency of human race, the rat race. We all know the frequency of the spirit animal of the rat, right? The rat race, right? The rat chases the cheese to get a little bit of information. And then it snitches. Or it'll tell a lie. Or it'll tell a lie on something else. And so it'll lie to itself just to get more cheese. Through sound and repetition, you can put yourself through or into a hypnotic phase. I've had this done to me intentionally. I've had it done to me unintentionally. I've done it to myself. Other people have done it to me. I've only had maybe one kind of negative experience with someone using sound to manipulate me, I'm so grateful that I got out of that situation. It was out west. I was in the middle of transition, okay, in my life, and I was bumped into this person because I was looking for a mobile home. I was looking for an RV, and this guy, out there out west, you use a lot of a Lyft and Uber, right? That's just a way to get around if you don't have a car. And we got to talking, we connected, and he took me all the way out to Sedona, to the energy vortex, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. It felt good. The sun went down. And then on my way home, he was driving his car, because at the time I didn't have a car. And he put this sound on, this music, and it was I felt weird, odd. Something was happening to me, and I had to fight it. I didn't know this man very well, so I didn't want to make a big to-do about it. But after that incident, I cut that off. Okay? You want to know about energy and spirituality stuff? Move out to the Southwest. There's no joke out there. There's no joke. People are serious about being into stuff like that. And funny enough, Sinners, it involves vampiric energy. It's about vampires. And the subliminal messages, it was so deep, but so in your face. And I said, okay. At that moment, I said, you know what? I'm done. What you consume consumes you. What you consume, you create. What you consume, you create. It's quite simple. Yet we bypass because we like to justify, we like to explain, and we like to avoid any and all accountability and responsibility. This is what we like to do as humans. Okay? It sucks. It's a hard truth, but it is what it is. I know there are a lot of, especially people of the Christian faith, look down on people who are into manifestation. I don't think there's anything wrong with manifesting the reality that you desire to live. It's better than being a slave in a story that's written for you by someone else. You want to be a leaf in the wind, go on and be a leaf in the wind. I'd rather be the tree with roots. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there's a time to surrender to the all. There's a time to let go and release. There's a time to just not know the next step to something. You know, it's very important to understand the cycles and seasons in life. There are seasons for making moves. There are seasons for knowing what's going to happen next and planning. And then there are seasons where you have to stay put. There are seasons where you have to just, you know, surrender. There are seasons where you have to make the decisions. But it's so very important that, you know, what the reality that you're creating is what you've already consumed. And what you see around you is just the product of what you've been consuming. And a lot of people are like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. It's not my fault that I didn't do this. I'm not the one that, yeah. People go to that automatically. It's uncomfortable, especially if you're miserable in your current state. You know? But sometimes feeling uncomfortable about your current state is that opening you need to begin something new. Something that's truly in alignment of your purpose. Maybe we don't really have a purpose in life. Maybe we're meant to just design it. Maybe that's our true responsibility as human beings, is to design our purpose. Design our purpose that will bring out the highest frequency of joy and love. That will indirectly affect everything that we do and every person that we touch. Let's see here. Healing. Another realization I had this week. You know, another thing about healing that is so crucial for us to understand. You don't have to name what you're carrying. You just have to let it go. Letting go is the hardest part. We often feel like we have to explain our hurt. We have to explain the person who hurt us. We have to explain our whole history and our whole story. But the hardest part is letting it go. There's a beauty in that process, though. I must say and share with you, there's a beauty of giving that hurt a name, giving that hurt a story, giving that hurt space so you can identify it. But sometimes, most of the time, we just need to let that shit go and release it. Release what doesn't serve you. It's a weight that we carry. We carry too much. We carry too much. People ask, they look at me weird when I say, yeah, I sleep on the floor. I'm a floor sleeper. Right? I sit on the floor. I eat on the floor. I do my work, my study on the floor. I'm a floor sleeper. Hello, hear me roar. I need that. People ask why live simply, why live with so little. It's a spiritual practice for me to remind myself that number one, I am impermanent. This body, this physical reality is impermanent. I'm a visitor here in this vessel. I will not be able to take my cello with me, my harp with me, my guitar, my flute, my books, my jewelry. I won't be able to take my glasses with me. All I will have is my consciousness. That's it. Well, funny enough, today during my the birthday celebration for my auntie, a relative was talking to my dad, and they were talking about lucid dreaming, and the relative was saying, oh, well, I've gotten to the point in my dreams where I can lucid dream, and if something didn't turn out right, I wake up and then I go back to sleep, back into the dream, and I fix it. That's deep. That's what we're all capable of. When you're actively able to change and create and produce whole new other worlds than these, you're activating different parts of your consciousness. The more we die in our physical reality, the less fear I believe we will have to face when the body dies, when it is time for our consciousness to expand beyond the vessel. You prepare for death by dying 1,000,000 times. I think there's a Sufi quote, some kind of quote, that says something similar to that. I'm talking about ego death. The next big follow-up question to what I'm saying, well, Nadja, how do I let go? How do I let go of the pain? By giving yourself permission. By giving yourself permission. Allowing yourself to do it. I give myself permission to let go of the cheating. I give myself permission to let go of the betrayal. I give myself permission to release the bitterness and resentment. I give myself permission to relieve and release the sexual assault, right? I give myself permission to release the emotional abuse from my parents, from my lover, from my friend, from my workplace. It's the daily practice of releasing what doesn't belong. That's the kicker. Next on the list, let's talk about meditation. So yes, I do plan on taking a nice long nap after I make this video. Meditation is showing up for you. You have to ask yourself, my busy, busy human beings, my busy, busy little bees, little worker bees, those of you who are still working, multiple jobs, okay? And if you're in retirement, I'm watching my parents as they're entering into a new cycle, a new season in their life. It's a challenge. My dad continues to work and work and work. My mom was like, what do I do? What do I do? Right? It could be a time of renewal. It could be a time of rediscovery. It could be a time of reflection. It could be a time where you just continue to work yourself in the nub, playing a character in someone else's story that they made for you. It really depends. It truly depends. However, showing up for you is the best thing that you could do for your family, your relationship with your partner, or marriage, your children, your family, your household, your neighbor, your community, your workplace. Making that time to listen and allow, and just it's showing up, it's meeting with your mind, meeting with the mind. Another thing I wanted to share with you, it's kind of random. The word work. I think it's Old English or Germanic, I believe. Werk, werker, werken. My German is very, very, very rough, but I believe it's old. It means to work, to put in effort. I despise the word now. I want to create. So rather than saying, I desire to work in this space, or I work in this space, you should say, as a suggestion, I create at this company. I create with these group of people. I create this and this with this department. Creativity. That, to me, it's very uplifting. Working just seems like you're just a slave. Underappreciated, you know? Even like that Rihanna song, work, 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 work. As she's twerking, right? No. I choose to create, to be in the frequency of creativity, creation. We are all creators, not workers. We are creating. It really changes the dynamic of your story when you put in creator instead of say, I work at. Because when you say, I create at the bank, then you ask yourself, what am I creating? Is what I'm creating at this bank or at this school or at this hospital in alignment of my patient, my student, my client? When you study the etymology of words, it will get you to a place where you begin to redefine your own personal story. You are the architecture of it. And people say, that's blasphemy. God is in control. What is God? Then you're going to say, He conditioning. We're all victims to it to a certain extent, but you got to do the work and get out of it. I'm going to continue on this word creating. So a lot of things are taking place in the world. Look, this channel doesn't really focus in on social commentary, on politics and social cultural shifts that are taking place. I do believe that the human collective is going through major, major, major changes. Yeah, we are. The shadow elite are beginning to itch. And they want us to scratch it. So, creating options and the law of sacrifice. I'm a firm believer that in order to create to create a reality that you desire to experience, you have to give up something. You got to give a little to receive a little, right? Give a little, get a little. There should be a balance of giving and taking. We don't see that. We don't see that in society right now. There's a lot of taking and very little giving. And that creates an imbalance upon an imbalance upon an imbalance upon an imbalance. And when you do that for so many months, years, decades, centuries, generations, it's going to create a very powerful energy vortex of a ego death on a human collective that may feel very unpleasant. When we're not in alignment of the laws of the universe, the you, the verse in you, verse meaning phrase, the spell, you, universe. So you are the master of the verse, of the spell, of the word, okay? The law can, in backwards is wall, right? So laws of the universe, identify what those are, put them into practice, see where you're not in balance with them, see where you are weak in some and strong in others. But sacrifice, the law of sacrifice is a really big deal. And in my generation, millennials, as what they call us, I guess, millennials were told that growing up, you guys are so lazy. You need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, get it together. But the generations previous, who came before us, had it actually a lot easier than what millennials and Gen Z are facing right now, by far. And so it's very interesting seeing what they had to sacrifice to get where they're at, and what we're having to sacrifice to get where we would like to be. And then we're all kind of seeing that we're not really getting very far with the systems in place. You see, because 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, all these promises were made and things were going well and things were going good. Right? That's what they want you to believe anyway. But, you talk to a 20-year-old today, you talk to a 70-year-old today, you talk to a 50-year-old, you talk to a 40-year-old, talk to a 15-year-old, you're going to get, I believe, a similar energy, a similar vibe, a similar experience. No one's really ahead of anyone else. We're all faking it, trying to get to this illusion, this destination that doesn't really exist. What are we willing to give up as the human collective? What are we willing to surrender and to sacrifice so that we can create? Is money the only way to create here? Is the money god the only way, the only thing, the only entity that we have to worship in order to create the communities and the experiences that our children in the future can benefit from? Because I believe money is an entity at this point. People kill for it. People trick people for it. Ah, yes. Let's talk about disappointment. Oh, disappointment. I was recently disappointed. There's something happened at a place where I create and teach. And very upsetting event took place that's completely out of my control. Completely out of my control. All I can do is what I'm professionally trained to do, and that's it. That's it. That's all I can do. The disappointment that I have felt in this morning in meditation, I've come to the conclusion. Each individual, I teach children primarily right now in my life, okay? Young people that are brand new young teenagers. They're young teenagers, all right? Middle school kids. Young teenagers are different from older teenagers. They just are, okay? Anyone under 18, yes, they're a child, but middle school kids there's just a specific mindset that you have to be able to work with and deal with, and it's very challenging at times. But it dawned on me, even though I work with minors and I work with children, and I've nannied the youngest baby I've nannied, he was 2 years old, okay? And just started potty training. I will say this. Every human being on this planet, right? The only exception is with very young human beings, children, very like toddler. They don't know how to wipe their butt. They don't know how to brush their teeth. They don't know how to take care of the basic thing to keep themselves alive, right? They don't know that. They're the only group I can say that lack any kind of self-awareness. But as a child begins to develop, they begin to realize that their choices have consequences. Do they fully understand the extent of those consequences? Absolutely not, especially in their teenage years. They just don't. The frontal lobe is not fully developed until their late 20s, mid to late 20s. So, with that, young people tend to do really dumb things without much forethought. Okay? Not all, but most. I've done silly things in my youth, not to the extent of getting into legal trouble, but things that would once in a blue moon have my parents raise their eyebrows and say an expletive, you know? Other than that, I was a really good kid. Really. In my teen years. But today I realize every single being on this planet, once you develop self-awareness, right? Whether you're a psychopath, sociopath, narcissistic, codependent, empathetic, healer, teacher, creator, builder, whatever you choose to do in this life, wherever life takes you, we all can choose in this game, in this holographic universe. We can choose, we can play. Just know that the game has rules. And we all must remind ourselves that we must respect the path of others. We must respect the path of others, even when they happen to be young children. There is a show that I'm not going to watch because I'm getting so freaking tired of just the media in general. It's too much. I'm media out. I'm done. I'm done. Like, yes, there's part of me that wants to know and be informed of what's happening in the world, but as a creator, I'm like, what am I doing? What am I consuming? Because what I consume, like I said before, creates my reality. It's creating my life. Whatever I eat, I consume in my body creates my physical form. Whatever I'm listening to creates my outlook and perspective of life around me, right? Guys, cold grapes, man. Crispy. And the cold, they sit in the fridge for a little bit. They're yummy. I'm sorry. I usually don't. I don't like to eat on camera, but. Oh God, it's so good. I think the hardest thing is watching a child, a young person, make really dumb decisions. Watching people you love make really dumb, dangerous, harmful decisions. And it's just dawned on me, not really, but all throughout my life, I have observed adult people making piss poor decisions that could really inflict harm not only onto them, but multiple people in their vicinity. In many different aspects that I don't feel like I need to get into. Just use your imagination. As a very young girl, very young, okay? And I'm like, okay. Like I feel like Source purposefully put me in certain situations and environments in my life to say, Naja, so in this round of life, yeah, I'm so sorry, but you're gonna have to see this so that you know not to do this. You know, I'm sure you guys have had that. And sometimes you do it anyway. We've all done it. We've all been there. Sometimes. But sometimes, for me anyway, I would see things over and over and over that were so gross, degrading, disgusting, and just toxic. And I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I am good. And I have lost friendships over it. I've had people tell me I was self-righteous. I've had people tell me that I was vain. I had people tell me all kinds of things because they thought I had a stick up my butt. But no, they just didn't see what I saw and how I saw it. They didn't experience what I've experienced and how I experienced it. That made me and kept me from making that choice. Why? Because I respect myself. Right? And two, also, I respect the choices that other people make on their path. I've found that a lot of the time people that I don't know very well, they tell me things that I never ask or wish to know. I swear to God. And I don't repeat it. I don't see the need. Gossip is gossip, right? Come on. It's part of being in a human community. Whether you're at your job or, you know what I'm saying? I'm really trying to avoid the word job work. Because right now I'm really needing to uplift myself. Because I had a really rough week. Or, well, yesterday was turned into crap. So I'm like, okay, let's just be in the space of creativity. Creativity, you know. As I say, work is just, I feel just like this dread. Okay? So I'm not avoiding reality. Don't worry. But respect. People come to me because, number one, I'll listen to them. I like to be listened to or heard. You know, like I have a lot to say, if you haven't noticed. But usually I don't talk this much. Not really. I like to speak with a purpose. I like to have deep conversations with people. Numerous times and throughout my entire life, people would tell me the most very personal things, okay? And I'm just like, wow, you know? I'm like, okay. Even like, or they would even say that they would engage in certain lifestyles or certain habits, right? I'm like, all right. Do you? You know what I'm saying? I just don't, it's my making my choice for me. And that sometimes can intimidate people. Because it makes them ask themselves, am I showing myself the same amount of respect as she's showing herself? It starts to get into their head a bit. And so they don't come around me as much. But anytime they need to talk or, we cross paths, I'm there. Not all the time, not very easily accessible. But yeah, when dealing with disappointment of what someone has done to themselves or to others, you have to respect that their path is unfolding exactly how it needs to be so that they can learn the lessons that they need to learn. And it's their choice on if they are done learning the lesson. If not, you can't get in the way. You can't save. It's not Pokemon. We can't catch them all. Can't catch them all. All right. And then I have a little list here. Last but not least, listening to the body. So recently I started running again. And, I started running, let's see. It was back in the summer of 2008, and I moved in with my dad for the summer. I was a freshman in college, so it was like it was in the year I was going into my sophomore year. And my dad's like, hey, come live with me, blah, blah, blah. And because I never lived with my dad before. And so I moved into his little shack. Literally, it was like a little shoebox. But anyway, we made it work. But that summer, I took running seriously. And I ran like every other day. Allowed my body, gave it like what they call it, like a break, a rest day, and then the next day. And I would alternate. So from 2008 all the way through, oh my gosh, I ran off and on all the way up to I think 2016. And then 2016 I got into Ashtanga yoga and I stopped running completely. Then 2018, I started up again. In 2019, I injured my knee. I pulled or something popped, and it's just been hurting a bit. And I didn't run very much during my last relationship because of his health crisis. So that took a lot of attention, and we just weren't really compatible in that area. But as far as working out and doing any kind of physical exercise. So that was kind of hard to do, hard to maintain. And then it wasn't until, I think it's between 2023 and 2025, I've just been off and on, inconsistent with my physical exercise regimen because of grad school and stress. When I worked a year at the hospital, when you spend 12 hours on your feet 3 days in a row, lifting people over 400 pounds, it does something to you. I adore my patients. I would never exchange or I don't regret my time in anything that I've done in my life. I really and truly. But did I have the mental capacity to get up into it? I never made my body a top priority there, just to simplify it. And now, at 36 years old, 37, God willing, inshallah, I truly hope, not hope, but my focus is to do exactly what my body needs for me to do. Like, really listening into my body. So Sunday of this week, I was starting to run, and then my body was like, stop running, walk. And then I started running again. It's like, stop running, walk. And I did it for a third time, and it said, stop running. I stopped running, and I just continued a very long walk over, I think, maybe 3 miles, and which isn't that long. It's a decent walk. And it dawned on me, I'm like, okay, because now what I know about my body and going to the chiropractor, consistently now for it's going on the second week, and going to a massage therapist and getting my doctor's appointments and all that, my body needs low impact, but it definitely needs exercise for sure. So I bought myself a bike, a little, what do you call it, indoor cycling machine. And I'm learning to listen. And it's hard for me. I never realized the disconnection I've had with my body until a couple of weeks ago. I think I shared that in the last video, but you have to protect your joints, and you have to protect your body or your vessel. And so that's what I'm doing. Just getting better at listening to the voice of my body. I will continue with Ashtanga Yoga. Of all exercises I have tried, from Tai Chi to running to, what else have I done? Cycling, like outdoor cycling before. I tried that when I was with my last partnership. Ashtanga, I can't, nothing can touch it. It is such a powerful practice, and I vow to live in a city or a town or country that has an Ashtanga teacher. It's so difficult. I think the closest Ashtanga teacher is in Chicago, and then possibly in Wisconsin and Minnesota. And there's pros and cons in this practice. It is very exclusive, but once you're in, it's a tight-knit community for sure. But it changed my life. It changed my connection to my body in ways that I didn't even expect. Yes, it's part of an older Eastern, ancient Indian tradition, and I deeply respect that, because I don't come from an Indian lineage. But Ashtanga, it ties everything together, and it's just so powerful. I love the Ujjayi breathing, the deep breathing with the diaphragm, and the speed, and the focus and the balance. And look, this is, I'm going to share something, but this is coming from a woman. Look, I'm asymmetrical. I have, scoliosis slightly, or maybe, I don't know. I have it. Okay. A lot of people do. It's curvature of the spine. And I'm feeling it now more in my 30s than I did in my youth, or when I was much younger. But one of my legs is shorter than the other. Like, one's a little bit longer, and it could be because one side of my, skeletal structure is like a little bit higher, and so it's pulling up everything. My hips are probably enclosed. My flexors are, there's all kinds of things that I'm beginning to really look into for my body and my issues with my body. But not really issues with it. It's just me. It's just my authentic, beautiful, wonderful, perfectly imperfect self. And I'm truly learning to fall in love with the vessel again. Because it's like when you begin to fill your physical cup, only then can you fill the cups of other people. And I've been in this space of, I'm going to say it, the archetype of the servant for over 10 years now. It's like, without being a teacher or having some kind of service job, even the nanny job, that was in almost like it was my archetype of the servant was in full blast this past decade. And moving forward, especially after I graduate grad school, I want to try something I've never tried before. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that feels like, but it starts with my body. It starts today. It starts now. And that is a bit scary, you know? But it's exciting at the same time. So that's an hour. Let me know what you think, what you feel, you know. Yeah, thank you all so much for your comments from the last post. I'll keep them coming, and I really appreciate you all. And may this message find you well and whole, and I look forward to next Saturday. And school is about to wrap up, so I'll be entering in the summer session, and thank God. Oh, and let me know if you guys want me to record out in nature. I want to take a couple of trips to the beach, and might bring my brother along. That'd be really nice. Go camping or something. I definitely want to do more outdoorsy stuff. Take advantage of the warm weather. We've had a very cool spring so far in the Midwest, so hopefully we can get that heat coming, because, you know, I like to wear my summer dresses and, you know, cotton and linen, and I'm juicing, and I had a smoothie. When did I have a smoothie? I think it was yesterday. So either I'm going to juice tonight, I think. Smoothies are great in the morning because it's packed full of like a lot of sugar with the fruits and everything. But juicing is very, very beneficial for the body. So I was going to juice spinach, celery, green apple, cucumber. Because that can alleviate a lot of inflammation in the body as well. And I'm going to have to share someday about my journey with cutting cheese out of my diet. I'm lactose intolerant too. I've developed that over the years because I don't like consuming milk. Ice cream tears me up. It's funny how your body like metabolizes food as you get older. Like, I still love my spicy food. That's not going anywhere for a while. But cheese. And here's the thing. In the States, we eat shit cheese. Okay? Wisconsin is an exception. But the processed, flabby looking cheese, that bright yellow shit, that's horrible. Horrible. The good cheese, aged cheese, bacterium for your gut. However, that same bacterium releases a chemical to your brain, like a little parasite, and you develop these cravings. So I want to find the most appropriate nutritionist for my lifestyle as a vegetarian. All right. Okay, guys. Again, I'm sorry for snacking during this whole thing, but grapes are juicy. Okay. Thank you for listening. I'll upload this after my nap. Okay. Bye. See ya.